So you're going to want to talk about, what to do when the principal is incapacitated. You want the same HIPAA release language that you had in the financial power of attorney. And you want, again, the ability to appoint a successor agent, I think. Who gets to oversee agents? This is an important concept for you to understand. The answer is, well, certainly the principal, the person who appointed you, they have a right to know what you've been doing. After they die, the executor of that person's estate can demand to know what you've been doing. Now, very often the agent during life is also the executor in death, but some people will deliberately mix it up so that the agent can have somebody looking over his shoulder when I die. Son number 2 was the agent while I was alive. Son number 1 is going to be my executor to watch out and see what son number 2 did when I wasn't able to do so. You can go to the orphans court, which is, I don't know why we still call them orphans court, because we don't really have too many orphans anymore, but it's the probate court, if you will, or in New York, the surrogates court. And the court can essentially order that the agent produce an accounting of everything that they've done. And if it's a medical power of attorney, then explain why you made the medical decisions you made, explain why you didn't make the medical decisions or why you didn't seek the treatment that you didn't seek. If it's financial, I want to know every transaction that you handled. I want to know every penny that came in or out. Because the agent works for the principal, you can't do things that the principal would object to. So you can't use a power of attorney to throw your mother in a nursing home against her will, because she'll just fire you. Unless she's incapacitated. Well, then she can't make a rational decision to revoke the power of attorney. So maybe I could throw her in a nursing home then. But as long as she's competent, I can't override her. And even after she's incompetent, I still have to be able to show how she's better off being in the nursing home than wherever else she might have been if I hadn't put her in there. That there weren't other better options available. The one thing you definitely want to do as an agent is avoid self-dealing. This happens with alarming frequency, because I don't think people really understand what self-dealing is. But you can't use your power to benefit yourself. You can't buy your mom's $5,000 car for $4,000 and give yourself a $1,000 discount. You can't. You can, in the sense that you can stick your finger in the electrical outlet and shock yourself, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And people do this all the time. They are particularly good about doing it after they've been handling things for a while. I've been handling my mother's bills for the last 2 years. I've been shoveling that old shrew back and forth for her doctor appointments. I've been running out and picking up her groceries. I've been making her the grilled cheese sandwiches and cutting off the crusts. I'm sick of it. For 2 years that old battle axe has been doing it. I haven't taken a dime. And now the old goat is going into a nursing home and I'm going to lose everything, so I'm paying myself now. Well, guess what? You can't do that and get away with it. If you wanted to get paid, you're allowed to get paid. You just have to have the courage to get paid as you go. You can't get paid retroactively for all your hard work. The assumption under the law is you were being nice and donating your services, not that you're getting paid retroactively. And the courts generally will not enforce retroactive compensation for people. And even if they allow you to pay yourself, you're always subject to the standard of, was the compensation reasonable? I decided to pay myself $350 an hour to drive my mother to the doctor's office. No. You should have just called a cab. BARDA would have done it for less than that, so really you should have done that. $20-25 an hour is about the going rate for most of those kinds of services. So you absolutely have to avoid those kinds of self-dealing transactions. Or at least be able to explain very clearly how what you did was fair to your mother. Now, I'll give you one quick example of one that's not fair to your mother. Oh, my mother has a house. It's worth $100,000. If I had hired my friend Pat Kofke from Remax to list the house and sell it for the $100,000 that it's worth, Mom would have netted $94,000 because we would have owed Pat a 6% commission. So I bought Mom's house for $94,000. Wrong. Any savings to be derived from not using Pat inures to your mother's benefit. It's the seller that pays the realtor's commission, not the buyer. So you don't get the $6,000 break. You have to buy the house for $100,000. And the fact that we didn't use a realtor, that saves money for Mom, not for you. It didn't change the value of the home. The home was worth $100,000. The fact that your mother had to pay somebody to assist her in selling it doesn't give you the benefit of that bargain. Oh, well, Mom had a $20,000 mortgage on the house, so she was only going to get $80,000, so I paid $80,000 instead. No, that doesn't work either. Most people would kind of get that one, but the realtor one really screws them up. I should get the benefit of that savings, they'll say. No, that's self-dealing. It's completely inappropriate. You're going to get hammered if your brother found out that you did that and didn't think that was such a good... That's who tattles on you. It's your brothers and your sisters. They tattle. Because you just took $3,000 out of the brother's pocket by doing that. Okay. That's the end of my slides for tonight. You can't have a more important document than a power of attorney. If you don't have one, you should. You should have a financial one and a healthcare one. To show you that I mean what I say, that's what my kids get on their 18th birthday. They get powers of attorney. Because once they're 18, I don't get to make these decisions for them just because I'm their dad. I have no status, particularly on the financial side of things. And as it turns out, when you're thinking about things like right to die and being on life support, every famous case you've ever heard about that involves somebody on life support for decades, we're all in their 20s. They're not in their 80s. 80-year-olds are smart. They know they're supposed to die when stuff like that happens to them. 20-year-olds are stupid, and they just continue to live in these prolonged vegetative conditions for decades. So, if you want to have an instruction of, let's say, pull the plug if I ever get to that situation, it's probably most important for you to have it while you're in your 20s, when you actually had a biological shot at being in that kind of a condition. So, everybody should have this. There's really no excuse not to. If you don't have one, and someone needs to act on your behalf, the law is going to fill in the blank in your life that you left when it said, if something should happen to me, I want blank to make decisions for me. You chose not to fill that in, so in the case of medical decisions, your spouse gets to go first, followed by your children, all of them, including the daughter that you disinherited 3 years ago because she's a heroin addict. If you're in a second marriage, your spouse will get to share power with the children of your first marriage. And if there are more of them than there are of him or her, they're going to win the day. If you don't like that result, then don't go on the one-size-fits-all, let the law fill in the blank for you. If you don't have any kids and you don't have any spouse, then we're looking at parents, and if we're not looking at parents, then we're looking at siblings. Yeah, your brother Chuck is going to get to make this decision for you. Probably not the choice that you would have made, but you didn't do anything to make that decision, so we filled in the blank. The world isn't going to stop because you get hurt. We're going to keep right on moving along, and if we need you to come along, we're going to drag you along with us. On the financial side of things, if you haven't filled it in, you're going to get a guardian. The court is going to step in and pick a guardian. You might get Cal Doshi, you might get Mark Sproul, you might get one of your kids. I don't know. You're like, who the hell is Mark Sproul? He's a very nice lawyer. He gets appointed to be guardian for a lot of people. Judge likes him, I guess. Nice guy, does a good job. But you don't know who the hell he is. Why would you possibly want him to be your agent or your guardian when you could pick an agent instead? Somebody that you knew and liked and who actually knew who you were and had insight into what you liked and what you wanted to do and what your goals were and what your beliefs were. if you're going to bother to pick somebody and go to the trouble of preparing a power of attorney and naming them as an agent, for God's sake, talk to these people. Tell them that you've picked them. That's a good start. It shouldn't come as a surprise. Number 2, help them understand what it is you'd want them to do. Just explain to them, particularly on the medical side of things, how you feel about the kind of care. You don't have to tell them, don't sit around and talk about, well, if I ever get my leg lopped off by the lawnmower, this is what I want you to do. Or if I ever get a spike shot through my head by my neighbor's nail gun thing, no, you're never going to get all of them that could possibly, you're not going to help them that way. You're going to say things like, you know what, every time I go to the doctor, I think that little bastard is just out to sell me a bunch of medical tests that I don't need. So I always get a second opinion. I don't believe any of them. I think they're all quacks. Okay, that's good to know. Now if I have to make medical decisions for you, I'm probably going to get a second opinion because that's what you would have done. Because particularly after you wake up and they take the spike out of your head, I'm pretty sure you're going to demand to know how I made these decisions. And if I just went off the first doctor who came along, you're probably going to be mad at me. But I would say, no, I know how you kick the tires on all these medical things. Maybe you're the opposite end of the spectrum. I just do what the doctor says. If he tells me to bend over and spread my cheeks, that's what I do. I ask no questions. Doctor's a doctor, he knows, she knows, whatever. Maybe you're more of a, I'm all about the quality of my life, not the quantity of my life. I might die of a stroke tomorrow, but if I do, I'm having a Five Guys hamburger today. Because for me, it's all about the ride, not the length of the ride. So, okay, if confronted with medical decision-making for you and the quality of your life seems to be pretty miserable, maybe I'm going to opt for the thing that keeps you the happiest for the least amount of time rather than the saddest for the longest amount of time. Maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe you don't want to be left alone when you're sick. Maybe you hate people showing up when you're sick. Every time I go to the hospital, all these people come by. I'm in that little gown with my butt hanging out the back. I don't want people from my office coming by and saying hello to me. Get the hell away from me. Okay, if I'm your agent, I can say, we're going to kind of restrict the visiting hours here a little bit. We're not going to, I'll tell people, Bill's not really in the mood for receiving visitors. Other people, more the merrier. Make sure they bring balloons. I love balloons. I don't know. Whatever your thing is, whatever makes you happy, that's what you need to be talking to the people that you've named as your agent. If you have particular attitudes about money, how you like I'm a socially conscious investor. I'll never invest in companies that pollute the environment. Okay, there are actually socially conscious investment platforms that you can follow. Good to know. I won't invest in Monsanto making frankenfruit and stuff. All that kind of stuff would be good to know. If you haven't talked to them and haven't chatted about these things, you're making the job much harder. You're giving them no context in which to make the decisions that they have to make. Really important, life-altering decisions for you. So the more information that you can give them, the more context you can give them, the better off they're going to be. The better the decisions they're going to make, and generally speaking, the happier you're going to be with the outcome of the decisions that they've made.